What if we can change the way that these individuals see themselves? From somebody who is homeless or undeserving to somebody who is a runner, a teammate, a friend, responsible, reliable, disciplined, focused, and a goal setter.
Powerful inspiration from founder of Back on My Feet, Ann Malem, who you just saw. And this is just a broadcast where I think we're all crying in the commercial breaks because we just saw Valerie Witherspoon, who just gave her story in such a beautiful way. And now we're delighted to have Kenny Herter, who's an alumnus with Back on My Feet, which is a nonprofit that began in Philadelphia. Scott Crossan, executive director here. And what did you feel like when you were here in the studio? Because I saw you over there crying, and,
Sure.
as we all were.
Very emotional.
When you hear Valerie.
Yeah. It's yes. When I heard Valerie, it was very emotional because I can relate to everything she was saying, especially to the point when you first come into a shelter, which is, it's such a horrible feeling because, for one, no one truly wants to be homeless. Right. It's not a choice, but there's times where things get out of control. And then you come in that place, you feel as though like the whole world has turned their back against you, and
you feel like nobody cares about you.
No one cares, and it goes back to what I inspired. Like when I first moved into the Red Shelter, and this one, Back on My Feet, was freshly coming in. It was like a year into this thing, and the gentleman that came into the shelter with one of the Back on My Feet members was named Mike Sullivan, and I knew Michael very well. Mm-hmm. And Michael gave his story by saying, when he came into the shelter system, he lost his wife. And he felt as though when he came into the shelter, he felt as though no one even cared if he lived or died. And I felt that same exact horrible way. And he was just saying how these people changed his life. He got a watch, there's incentives that they give you, a camera, sneak. I said, just a run, what do I sign up at? I was like, what? Man, next thing you know, we're up 6 in the morning, we're running, everybody's getting happy, we're feeling good about each other. Things that, as I progressed into the program, I became team captain, team leader, got my watch, got my camera, and these Drexel kids used to come down and run with us, and they ran a time mile with me one time, ended up getting a record of a 5:48 time mile with these young kids, and it's just the way I felt. The important thing about this is how you feel, and I felt like I was back in high school. I was young and running with these young kids. Come on, Ken. Come on, Ken. I'm like, yeah, let's get it.
But it's a feeling of self-esteem, right?
Yes. It's like the way it's like in a way like not to be like a religious on anybody. It's like being born again. Mm-hmm. All the things, like the simple things that you used to do as a child, riding your bike, getting up, having fun, playing baseball. All the simple things, and it's just that's what Back on My Feet brought out for me. But a lot of important things that's also about Back on My Feet. It's not just about running. It's also, like, for example, when you're in a shelter and you live the shelter life, 9 o'clock at night, you're just in the shelter. You're an outcast of society.
Oh, okay.
You don't get to go, you're just within that shelter. But these people come in here and we have events where they take you bowling, and they take you to events like where you go to, we have the bash where everybody wears sneaks and suits. You don't know who's homeless, who's whatever, and it's just a fundraiser. We eat dinner like real classy, and then we dance on the dance floor, and it's just, you don't feel like you're homeless. And they're like,
and you feel respected.
Yes, and you feel very respected. And what's also important, and now when these people get up in the morning and run with you, like for example, one morning the weather was kind of messed up. And Wally, I was like the contact guy. It's like, Ken, what do you think you're doing? Well, I look out the window. I see a volunteer running down the street with her dog. I said, we got to go out.
Aww.
We got to go out. They coming out here early in the morning and run with us. It's very important. But I'm moving a little too fast. But basically what's so important about running with these volunteers is, for example, when I may be, like, don't say if you came out one morning, we're running. Now, you're not in the shelter. I'm running with you. This is prepping me up for maybe like a job interview, because once again, I said, you're isolated. You don't see anybody. You don't really and when you're out, you're not telling, where do you live at?
Because you're networking.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to tell people that you live in a shelter or where do you live. It's just something you just can't talk about because you're so ashamed from where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, basically, like I said, you're an outcast from society because you have these rules and regulations, which is good to contain things, and keep things moving. But Back on My Feet breaks a lot of barriers of that. Showing you that you care. For example, we also had a beneficial financial class that they taught us how to financial books. For example, the one guy was saying, for example, if you make a list of everything that you spend throughout the day, right, and then check off where you could have cut back. things like that they were teaching us of that nature.
So
to
you're learning a
prepare
lot of
us.
life skills
Oh,
and
yes,
this and
yes,
that.
yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Yes.
Sound like my husband.
Yes.
So I have to ask you again. You know, I see you, Scott, with the getting verklempt here during Kenny's story. I mean,
I mean, he's an inspiration. I mean, he was one of the first people that I had the opportunity to meet after coming on board, and it's just so inspiring. And I think that it speaks to how sustainable the Back on My Feet program is. This isn't just something you do for a few weeks or for a few months. This is about the rest of your life. This is about taking control of your life, and really, I look at Kenny as someone who has done just that. You know,
because now you
he's
have your
working
own
hard.
place.
He has his
Yeah.
own place,
Oh,
and he's moving his life forward, and he's
yeah.
paying it back to some of the
Oh,
newer
yeah.
folks
Yes,
who are just
yes.
starting off. And I hear him say, if I can do it, you can do it.
and Kenny, if you could, if there might be a lot of people out there who are interested in maybe volunteering, maybe running. What does that mean to you that somebody volunteers because they believe in you?
Oh, it means a lot. It helps, it helps a great deal, especially when you're going through trials and tribulations of trying to get better and getting back. For example, you're going to get tested. And for example, I lost my mother and 3 years ago, and it was like a test, and then, Back on My Feet pulled me in. We have a circle in the morning, and we all ran 5 miles dedicated to my mother. And that's the test of the things that occur in life. And the bittersweet part was I was running 13 miles of a marathon.
And your mother was right there going, "You go, Kenny!" Right?
That's when she was in the hospital dead.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know until I got home after the marathon.
But she was in heaven
Yeah,
watching
man.
you.
Yeah.
Because we're all connected.
Yeah. And that's what's so important about this thing, because I didn't go left, I didn't go right. I stayed maintained through the help of Back on My Feet, keeping me in that support system that Valerie mentioned, which helps out a great deal because life's tough sometimes.
Yeah, it sure is. We're going to have more with Kenny and with Scott. Back on My Feet when we're right back. This is about the courage to come back. We're talking about Back on My Feet, an amazing nonprofit. And Kenny Herter, Scott Crossan, thank you so much. And, and Kenny, I know it was a difficult story for you to tell. Hi, Mom. Mom's watching from heaven. Mom's saying, Kenny needs a show on WMCN TV. And to Miss Valerie Witherspoon, who was here, and she starts her new job. What a beautiful message. Thank you so much for sharing it with us, truly.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, you made my
Absolutely.
day.
Yes.
I think you made all of our day, right? Quickly, let's show how you can get involved with Back on My Feet. If you want to run, if you want more information, here is all of the information you need, 772-1080. Back on My Feet. We're all trying to make some comeback of some sort, aren't we?